Hello and welcome to the Internet of Things Made Simple. This is special mini episode 12, and I thank you for joining us. As always, shout out to our new listeners. There's been a ton in April. Welcome aboard. Check out our webpage, theinternetofThingsMadeSimple.com, go figure, which has some incredible material on IoT. And as always, I humbly ask, subscribe to this podcast using your favorite podcast service. I did want to start out by offering a bit of an apology for only doing a mini episode in what is normally our regular episode time slot. This week was just freaking busy, and I didn't want to miss providing something new in this time slot. Full episodes, however, are back next week. Now, one of the most common topics, I just covered it in the most recent mini episode, has to do with health. And I think that kind of makes sense. It's the part of our life that tops all others. And it isn't just our own health. The health of our loved ones and friends, it really is the most important thing. If you really have an interest in health, do check out some of our previous podcasts, by the way. You know how IoT helps keep you healthy, some of the issues that wearables can cause for HR monitoring for certain people. And we did an entire episode on smart health recently. I recommend you check those out. In this episode, though, we're going to look at your heart and how IoT is preventing your first heart attack, your next heart attack, or for either one, how it's going to improve your visit to the doctor's office, and if you have to go to the ER. One of the first things you need to do to prevent a heart attack, whether it's your first or your next one, is to be more selective about what you put into your mouth. Diet is one of the biggest differences between someone with a healthy heart and someone with a not so healthy heart. There's a ton of solutions, many of which I covered in the book, to help you control the volume of food you intake and the quality of food you intake, as well as to help you avoid trigger foods. I mentioned before that I openly laughed out loud when I saw a smart fork and plate, each for over $100, by the way, at CES. Now I absolutely have to take that back. The two work well together. The plate examines what's on it to ensure that your portion sizes are ideal, and the fork measures your cadence. Music lovers and athletes like swimmers, runners, and rowers know that cadence is the pace of something. In this case, smart forks alert you if you are eating too fast and putting too much food in your mouth. By slowing down and putting less on your plate to begin with, you're going to control your diet. I mentioned too allergies, and this may be important for many because one of the issues with allergies if you have heart problems is an attack could cause a heart issue. Smart testers are testing for known allergens like shellfish, dairy, and nuts by using sensors that communicate with your smartphone. The other pillar to avoiding heart issues, yeah, you guessed it, is exercise. Now, does getting in 10,000 steps every day truly make all the difference? Could you not be healthy at 9,000? Of course you could be. But the idea is that it gets your lazy ass off the couch and gets your heart moving. I don't care if it is 9,000 or 10,000 for that matter. As long as you stay active, that's good for your heart. Devices, and in this case the communities, like Fitbit, are great because they use that nice little peer motivation. Come on, you can do it, do a little better, or get your butt off the couch when you post it on Facebook, and this encourages you to keep up your activity level. They do more, though, than just monitor the number of steps you've taken. These programs also work hand in hand with many food intake or diet programs, like MyFitnessPal, and I'm sure there's 20 other ones, that ensure that your food intake matches the requirements for your exercise, because you also don't want to eat too little either. In terms of getting smarter, many machines, like ones that are used for treadmills and bikes, are getting smarter, allowing people to attend virtual classes from their home via the internet. The way I look at it, whatever technology gets you up and moving and keeps you exercising regularly, buy it. Yeah, I get it. Some of them are ridiculously expensive, but so is the cost of healthcare. So in many cases, being healthy really is worth it. However, during exercise, somebody that's at risk of a heart attack needs to be sure they're not overdoing it. And it isn't just formal exercise. It could be like running, but it also could just be shoveling snow. Or maybe the parents are having some parent time while the kid's at a play date. Whatever puts too much strain on your heart, that's a bad thing. For years, watches have been monitoring your heart rate, and that allowed you to be alerted if the rate exceeded a preset level or number, and that was often based on your age. Today's solutions go one step further because they're looking at things like oxygen level, and some are even detecting possible issues early on like AFib or arrhythmias. Now, these devices are still in their early stages, and I did do that podcast on if you're extremely vulnerable to a heart attack, maybe don't rely on the heart rate for these, and that still applies. But it still gives you some information. I take it with a grain of salt. If you're truly having heart issues, look for something a little more higher end. But if you're just looking to keep your heart healthy, most of the wearables do a great job for that. I mentioned in the most recent mini episode on marathon running about how elite athletes often take their blood pressure and heart rate in the morning, and that helps them spot a possible sign of overtraining or illness. You should do this too, even if you're not an athlete. It does take a lot for an elite athlete to truly overdo it, but not so much for the rest of us. A hard day of training or looking after the kids or gardening, that might mean your body needs some extra time to rest. An elevated heart rate in the morning shows that you've trained a bit too hard and or you're about to get sick, so take it serious. Either way, you don't want to press your luck too much that day. Maybe just go for a light walk and take it easy. In a couple of minutes, we're going to cover how taking your heart rate and blood pressure each morning also helps your visit to the doctor, so stay tuned for that. I'm a strong believer in the power of exercise and diet to improve your heart. But the fact is, even if you do everything right, medication is often needed for people to keep their heart in good shape. There's a number of ways that IoT can help here, both for reminders for you and potentially for your family. Smart pill bottle reminders are great for those who just can't keep track of all medication. They let you know what you need to take by sending you an alert, and in many cases, they provide you a picture of the pill you need to take, so take the green one, not the red one. They also can send an alert to a loved one if you haven't taken medication, and in some cases, they can even alert the pharmacy that it's time for a refill. Lastly, there is a tie between heart rate, blood pressure monitoring, and pills, which is coming up next. So you're at the doctor's office for your scheduled checkup. You've been doing all your exercises, you're eating well, getting great sleep. So why the heck is my blood pressure so high then? It might not be your fault. There's a very common phenomenon called white coat hypertension that might be to blame. The act of the doctor and or nurse walking in the room, and often just simply being at the doctor's office, spikes up the readings for many people. And the doctor can only see what they see, so they think you might have an issue when you might not. This is where the value, as I mentioned earlier, of taking your readings regularly can come in handy. You can show the doctor how your readings have been, and they can see any patterns, good or bad, to know how you're progressing. Speaking of patterns, this is the part that I mentioned about medications and blood pressure and heart rate. By taking your vital readings regularly, your doctor can see how a change to medication has changed those things, and they can even see how it's changed the amount of sleep that you've had, so they can modify the medication accordingly or continue on if they're not seeing any kind of issues. For the final area, we're going to talk about something that you've done everything you can to avoid, and that's you've had a heart attack and are now in the ER or the hospital. Hopefully, all the steps you've taken before have minimized the impact and the severity. IoT is still here to help, though, and it improves the outcomes of patients who have suffered a heart attack to help them not only get home faster and healthier, but to help them prevent another one by using genetics. The first area of improvement is scans. Now, I'm not talking about the quality of scans, because I'm sure they are improving and they're already incredible. I'm talking about the accuracy in reading them. I'm not here to slam doctors and professionals who read scans. They're probably incredible at it. However, what AI solutions are doing is helping them to spot the smallest of patterns and or spots or whatever it might be that might not be visible to the human eye. This helps to reduce the chance for error, and it can often be combined with historical records of thousands or millions of previous scans to help spot a rare condition much earlier. The next part has to do with the HR monitor used in the hospital. They're great for alerting nurses and staff to an unexpected drop in a key metric. However, they are reactionary. They're only alerted when something happens. AI solutions are taking and feeding in billions of points of data. Yes, every heart rate is counted to help detect patterns. So if a particular heart rate or blood pressure pattern might indicate oncoming sepsis or infection, they might know about it sooner. Perhaps that particular pattern could show an oncoming relapse or issue with the heart, and even on the positive side, this pattern might show you're getting better. Either way, they can be alerted to it earlier. Finally, medicine is becoming incredible how they're able to share knowledge. Soon it'll be possible for every record from every visit to be calculated to vastly improve detection of diseases and illnesses. But that assumes that your body reacts to a treatment or course of medication just like everybody else or like the average person. No one's body is exactly the same as another one. Everyone's slightly different. And even though a certain treatment might help 95, 98, 99.9% of all people, it might not help you. And this is where personalized medicine comes in. I covered it in much more detail in the episode on smart medicine, so if you're interested, listen to that one. But to summarize it, the combination of genetic testing and DNA analysis will allow doctors and scientists to fine-tune your treatment to maximize your chance of success. And as a recap, here's a few key points. First, congratulations. If you're listening to this, you're either trying to find ways to improve your health or the health of someone you love. That really is a good first step. Next, as I mentioned before, the value of data is equal to your reaction to the data. So if you get your readings and you input all your food content into an app, but you fail to change your bad habits, your health's not going to improve. You might feel better thinking you did something, but it's not going to help. Finally, an episode on IoT and health can become pretty obsolete pretty fast. And this is why I didn't mention any particular products by name. Health is one of the biggest areas at shows like CES now. So there is no shortage of new devices and apps to improve your health. So if something's not available now, check back in a few months. You might be surprised it might be available then. As always, thanks for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions or you want to reach out, the best way to start is through our Facebook page, The Internet of Things Made Simple. Go figure. We also have some links to some great information there, like blogs and ebooks and podcasts. If you're connected to me on LinkedIn, drop me a note that way. And if we're personally connected, drop me an email or a text. Many thanks for listening. Full episodes back next week. I'm Larry Bohumor. Take care.